Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, regardless of where you are. It's always a great time to learn and to discuss the teachings of the gospel. Today, we're going to be covering chapter 4 of the book Our Daily Bread by Emmanuel, which came to us by the mediumship of Chico Xavier. Before we begin, I would like to thank the Kardec Radio for this opportunity to provide programs like this and some others that allow us to have conversations about different teachings so that we can all learn together and grow together. So make sure that you follow Kardec Radio in the different social medias. Also, that you post any questions on the X platform, was usually known as Twitter. And follow them also. Kardec Radio has their own app as well, through which you can access some very interesting podcasts. So make sure you follow Kardec Radio in different manners. So before we begin our discussion, let's close our eyes and let's connect ourselves with the spiritual world, with our spiritual friends who are always there with us and who are always waiting for us for an opportunity to help us, to inspire us, to guide us and give us strength. May we have our hearts open for all the positive energy that surrounds us and our minds receptive to all the intuition that we receive from our spiritual friends. May your peace be with us, and may we employ everything that we learn in our different teachings during our daily lives, especially during those moments of challenge. So be it. So, again, today we're going to be covering chapter 4 of the book, Our Daily Bread. And the title of the chapter is Prior to Service. It is based on Matthew chapter 20, verse 28. Just as just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as ransom for many. So just let's just recap it real quickly. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as ransom for many. So here, obviously, they're referring as Son of Man. They're referring to Jesus, who was the model, right? He was the perfect spirit who came to earth and who served as our model. And he came to serve, right? So even though he was such an elevated spirit, he was here serving us. He was here. He was here teaching us. He was here to serve as a guide for us, and gave his life, right? So in that case, he gave his life as a commitment. He spent around 33 years here on earth. So can you imagine a high spirit, an elevated spirit? For us who are imperfect spirits, it's hard for us to live on earth. Can you imagine? And nowadays, right, of all times, can you imagine a perfect spirit like Jesus being with us for 33 years, and not nowadays, but around 2,000 years ago? How it must have been, I'm pretty sure for her, it was not easy, but of course, that was his commitment. And it is quite interesting that Emmanuel explains to us that, quote, while in the company of spirit of service, we shall always be well protected. The entire creation reaffirms this truth with absolute clarity. From the inferior kingdoms to the highest spheres, all things serve in their own time. So here Emmanuel expands on the teaching by reminding us that everything, all the creatures, all the beings in the universe, they serve. All the beings in the universe, they do some kind of task for the betterment, either the betterment of the universe itself, And in most cases, they don't even realize it. Kardec, in the Spirit's book, mentions the minuscule animals that work together and build reefs, right? So those creatures, those tiny little creatures, they have no understanding of what they're doing. But as time progresses, as they go in their, in their own lives and try to survive and reproduce and all those things that living beings do, so those tiny little creatures, they die and they form these interesting edifications. They, entire reefs and sometimes entire islands. And again, each one of those creatures doesn't have an understanding of what it's doing. However, there is a master plan. So the same way for us, we are part of the universe. There is a master plan for us. It's hard for us to understand what our contribution is, but we are, believe it or not, we are contributing. Um, as we improve ourselves, as we work to improve ourselves, we are both intellectually and morally. Of course, some of us evolve faster than others, but as we grow, so as so we do help the universe grow as well. Like Gandhi used to say, "Be the change you want to see in the world." So as I change myself, as I improve myself, I improve the globe as well and the universe. And Emmanuel continues here, and I'm going to quote again: "The Father designated the planetary home to the human being, whereby each object is found in its proper place, merely waiting the dignified effort and proper word in order to teach mankind the art of service. If provided with the gunpowder designated to spark the energy, and if this gunpowder is utilized as an instrument of death by his fellow men, the earthly user is accountable because the Supreme Being suggests that every action be in the practice of good, aiming the elevation and enrichment of all the values of the universal patrimony." So here we see here that, first of all, the Father God designated the planetary home, in our case, the Earth, for humans. And each object is in its proper place and merely waiting the dignified effort and proper word. So here he's saying that, hey, this is our home, this is our place to grow, this is our cradle for development, and each object is in its proper place. Each piece is in its proper place and is waiting for the dignified effort, is waiting for the right effort, and again, and to teach mankind the art of service. So everything that happens, everything that is around us has a purpose. Everything is there, and just like, also like Emmanuel explains here, just like an example of gunpowder. So gunpowder was an amazing invention, and it has the potential, literally speaking, right, has the potential to release an amazing amount of energy. So here's the tool, right? Gunpowder is a tool for us. You have these potential just sitting there. So what is it that you're gonna do with the gunpowder? So I could use that gunpowder to blast rock and clear the way to build a road to connect people, right? I can excavate. I use a gunpowder to help me excavate, for instance, and dig a tunnel and dig a water system to help irrigation. So I can use that gunpowder for so many. There's so many great applications for that gunpowder. And it's up to me now, right? What I'm gonna do now. I have free will. One of the moral laws of the universe is the law of liberty. So, how am I going to use, for instance, the gunpowder? Am I gonna use the gunpowder again in some constructive manner, in some positive manner, or am I gonna use it to take someone's life? Right? It's up to me. Am I gonna use it to create a means to construct and to allow better life standards for others, or am I gonna use that same gunpowder as a means of destruction? So again, whatever way I go, it's not about the gunpowder. It's about what I'm doing with it. I'm gonna be accountable by the way that I use that particular opportunity. The same is with everything else in my life and with all the opportunities that are given to me, with all the talents that are provided to me. Am I gonna use it for the betterment of others? Am I gonna use it for a way to connect people? Am I gonna use it as a means to improve lives of people, or am I gonna use it as a means to make life harder for others? So it's really up to me, the choices that I'm going to make and how I'm going to use that particular opportunity. So, and of course, we have gunpowder, which is a prime example. And we have some other examples of different technologies. A great technology that, our ancestors um, um, managed to use and that we still use today is fire. That's a prime example. So just think of how the different ways that fire has been used throughout the ages. Fire has been used to cook, has been used to warm, to keep our ancestors warm, has been used to protect our ancestors against predators. So fire has been so useful, uh, and they're still used for us today, useful for us today. But since time immemorial, we've been using fire also as a means of destruction, as a means of intimidation, as a means to inflict pain on other human beings. And it's funny that to this day, right, we use fire in different ways. Well, not, fear in general, right? Hopefully, none of us are doing bad things with fire, but you know, there are opportunities for someone to use fire and cause damage to others. So, prime example, all other technologies as well. And an interesting one, a lot more recent, but it's very ubiquitous right now for us is social media. So, how can we use this technology? Are we going to use that to bully people? Are you going to use that to intimidate? Are we going to use to spread misinformation? Or are we going to use social media to harmonize? Are we going to use social media to lift others? Are we going to use social media to enlighten others? Again, that's an opportunity for us. Whichever way we choose to use, it's not about the technology. It's about how I'm using that particular technology. And so is with everything else. All the opportunities that the universe has given to us, um, and so though each one of those is an opportunity for work, is an opportunity for labor, it's an opportunity to do something good, right? So let's say if I'm given if I given personal skills, if I'm somebody who is fortunate enough to have great emotional intelligence, how can I use that emotional intelligence? Am I going to use that emotional intelligence again to lift others, to help others, to um, to make others feel better, or am I going to use my emotional intelligence to control others, to dominate, right? So if I'm somebody who's technically savvy, again, am I going to use that to help others live a better life? Am I going to use help others to teach others as well? Or am I going to use that to hurt others as well? Am I going to use that to keep secrets from others? So again, each opportunity that is given to us is a like Emmanuel explains here is a latent, is a dormant mission, is a dormant opportunity that we have and that we can employ for our betterment and for the betterment of those around us. It is interesting also because the same applies to our challenges as well. Our challenges are opportunities as well, right? Because thanks to our challenges, we can grow. Our challenges, they allow us to develop our intellect. They allow us to develop our virtues as well. Our challenges in our lives, they allow us to become better spirits and also to help others as well. So again, if I'm someone who has, for instance, some kind of handicap, and none of us is perfect actually, all of us have our imperfections, our physical imperfections, emotional imperfections. So all of us have our limitations. So our limitations are also tools that we can use to work, tools that we can use to invest our energy as well and become better spirits as well. So again, those are also dormant lessons that we have, right? Again, I mentioned, let's say in this particular case, some of the emotional shortcomings, right? If I'm somebody who is you know, who feel intimidated, who feel if I'm afraid to go and talk to people, and if I have social anxiety, so that's an opportunity for me, right? That's an opportunity for me, not judging people who have social anxiety, just citing that as an example. So if I have social anxiety, it's an opportunity for me to try and go out and talk to people. It's an opportunity for me to overcome that, right? So if I have fears, if I have my phobias, also there's an opportunity for me to overcome those as well. And also think about the challenges that we face with others. If I have difficult neighbors, difficult family members, difficult co-workers, each one of those are actually opportunities that I have for my own betterment as well. Because as I communicate, as I deal, and as I try to overcome that kind of aversion, with somebody else, with another soul, right? A lot of those they do not come from the present life. A lot of those they come from the past. So again, even challenges like that, challenges of dealing with quote unquote difficult people, the opportunities for us to better ourselves as well. So just as just let's all keep in mind that the most difficult person that I've that I might come across, even that person one day is gonna be a perfect spirit, and the same applies to me as well. So what's the point in being upset and being angry with somebody? Um, like Jesus said, if you have a misunderstanding, if you have an enemy, make sure that you make peace with that enemy while you're still on the road with that, right? So still while you're still on the way with that individual, because again, otherwise, the longer you take, the longer you wait, the harder it is going to be. You do not want to be, let's say, if you have a difficult family member, it's better for you to make up with that person, to make amends in that relationship right now. Otherwise, to avoid in a future situation in which you might come in a in a much harder situation with that individual and be forced to make peace under those circumstances, right? So again, everything in life is an opportunity, being those challenges and also the talents that we are offered. And here, Emmanuel also reminds us, again, which has to do with the passage, is connected, directly connected with the passage, that we should never forget that Jesus worked when he was among us. And and I quote him: "Let us examine the nature of his sacrificing service and learn from the master the happiness of sanctifying service." Right. So again, just think about Jesus reincarnate again. No, I'm sorry, correction. Jesus did not reincarnate. Jesus incarnated on earth because he only came once here on earth, and being since he is a perfect spirit, so he was always busy, right? Ever since from an early age, he was already helping his father at the shop, and doing earthly work with his father. And then after that, he was very applied. He was very committed to preaching, to teaching, to providing as examples. And the most amazing examples, not only from the moral side, but also as far as mediumship as well. And he's always he shows us this very active nature here is, so just think about it. This is a spirit who is already perfect. He is not a spirit who needs to expiate. He doesn't need to prove anything, but still he's very busy. He was a very productive spirit while amongst us. And again, based on his teachings, based on his example, and also in communicating with people. An interesting aspect of Jesus is that he was always surrounded by human beings. And can you imagine how much work it took for him to be in that circumstance, to be in that situation, because now he's having to deal with imperfect spirits, right? Being surrounded by imperfect spirits, and but he's there. He didn't, he stayed with us, and again, he was very productive. He was always very active. So we gotta follow that example. And interestingly enough, Emmanuel explains that the happiness service, learn from the master the happiness of sanctifying service. So again, learn from Jesus, Jesus who is our model. So learn from him how happy you can be, how satisfied you can be, how fulfilling it is for you to do sanctifying service, to do this kind of labor that builds, that enlightens, that helps others grow as well. In our case, we still have to do this kind of labor to grow, but in Jesus's case, it was all about helping others. So, and interestingly enough, Emmanuel explains to us that you can start immediately. And he mentioned something very interesting. A hoe or a casserole, a hoe or a casserole constitute an excellent way to begin. If you feel ill and unable to make a direct contribution, you can still commence by helping in the moral edification of your brothers. So this is kind of interesting. A whole, in a casserole. So using a hoe to dig the dirt, and it's interesting in a casserole to cook, right? But think about a hoe is very important. There's a very interesting analogy here because you use a hoe to dig, so you can sow seeds, so you can plant, right? And then you create something that grows. And a casserole is something that you're gonna use to cook, so that you can feed yourself and feed others as well. You can provide energy to others. And then Emmanuel proceeds here, explain to us that even if you feel ill and unable to make a direct contribution, you can still commence by helping the moral edification of your brothers. So even if physically you have some kind of physical impairment, even if you're sick as well, if you don't have the physical energy, you can still do something moral for others. It is interesting in the gospel according to Spiritism that Kardec explains to us the power of prayer. So again, if I cannot save the world, of course, none of us, um, I don't think that none of us, you know, yeah, of course, I cannot. I'm very far away to be in the same level as a spirit like Jesus. However, there is always that even a spirit like me can do, right? I mean, in the least, in the very, very least, if I cannot do something impactful to help millions of people or billions in this case, I can at least say a prayer and make sure that wherever I am, I can transmit some positive energy. I can transmit something good to and wherever I am again. So try to be this spark of light wherever wherever I might be. And always remember, again, the power of prayer, the power of the fluidic of fluids, the power of the positive energy. Just think how much I can send to others, how much I can help harmonize others. Um, and the opposite, and be cognizant of the opposite as well, of how I can hurt, how I can contribute to disharmonizing others, contribute to disharmonizing society, disharmonizing the world, just by emanating negative energy as well. So try, it's important for us to, so just to summarize here this very interesting lesson, let us remember that we can always do something. We can always do something to help others. There are always opportunities that life is going to offer us to be productive, to better ourselves intellectually and morally as well, and help support others as well. And again, I can start with something as simple as planting, um, doing some, I can start with something small. I can feed others, or I can do some great charitable work. But even if I find myself in a situation in which I'm limited, at the very least I can do something moral. At the very least I can pray to someone else and send this very positive energy to those around me. So that's it. So that's chapter 4 of the book, Our Daily Bread. And feel free to add your comments, any particular questions. If I don't get to review the questions right away, I always go back and make sure that I check on the comments. So yeah, so feel free to add your comments or your questions. And again, I would like to thank Kardec Radio for the opportunity to bring to all of us different programs, different opportunities for learning. And again, make sure you follow. And if you wish, right, and if you're able, just remember that Kardec Radio is in several platforms. So again, if you're able and if you wish, also Kardec Radio also accepts financial contributions as well to support their mission. And so at this time, let's close our eyes again and connect with our spiritual benefactors, with our spiritual friends who are always with us, and thank thank the Lord for all of the opportunities for service that we have. May that be something that, by earthly standards, may be something menial, something small, or something grand. It doesn't matter. We always should be thankful for the opportunities to be active, and especially our challenges as well. Those situations that are troublesome for us and for others, those are always opportunities for our own betterment. Let's never forget to pray for others, to pray for our friends, our family members, and especially for those who consider themselves our enemies. They also need our positive energy as well. And whenever any kind of thoughts trouble us, any kind of disharmonizing energy reaches us, let's also remember to be in prayer, to be vigilant, and to be able to, at the least, at the very least, contribute to the harmony and peace of the world with our positive thoughts. So be it.